Weekday was a strictly smash hit, finishing it in 6th place last year with her professional partner, Carlos Zhu. Well, she's here with us to share her body story and how living with her eating disorder affected her and her family. And she's got some exciting news. Please welcome Angela Scanlon. I can't believe, is this your first time on Live?
Yes. It's my first time.
Oh.
She's a fully fledged virgin.
Hey!
Yeah, happy to be here.
Oh, we're all pleased that we've been here to pop your loose women cherry. We love that.
Totally into it.
Right, so you...
It's got wild with the maths teacher, isn't it?
OK.
Now, you had some exciting news, didn't you? Because you are taking over from Graham Norton, aren't you?
She's hitting the radio, yeah. I've just started on Virgin Radio weekends.
Wow.
Yeah, 7 to 10 a.m.
It's a lay-in for you, isn't it? 7 a.m.
Exactly that. I've got 2 small kids, so, you know.
How old are your kids?
2 and 6.
Oh, blimey.
Yeah. And they're early risers, you know, kind of 5, half 5 from day dot. I haven't been able to, you know, nudge it.
So great, you can just get out.
Gone, like the
my God,
wind,
amazing.
breakfast, all the mayhem in the morning, and I come back, I'm like, I've been working, guys, I'm going to lie down.
It's a day off.
Oh, we have all been there, that's for sure. What's been wonderful over the last couple of weeks, you've been talking really openly about how having the babies, the impact that had on you and your body, because you've been talking about the battles that you've had with your body over the years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I think, you know, I've spoken openly about this. I wrote about it in my book, and I felt really kind of passionately to speak about it because I was quite afraid to talk about it for a really long time. I think... afraid that it would define me, that people would always want to talk about it or scrutinise me.
Was it anorexia with you?
Anorexia, bulimia, and often they kind of, you know, go in cycles. It's not necessarily one or the other. But, yeah, I think it can sometimes feel really bleak. It's not spoken about very often. It can be very secretive. It's not always obvious. I think people assume it's a, you know, very thin person who's visibly struggling, but I think they come in very different forms. But it's actually, you know, it's possible to come out the other end. And I just remember when I was in, you know, a really bad place.
And how
with
old were you at that point?
You know, mine was from, like, 15 years. So from my late teens, early 20s.
Are you aware of what you think brought it on, or do you think that it is something inherent in you that was always going to come out?
I think there's definitely a tendency towards very sensitive people. You know, I think you can be exposed to the exact same thing, whether that's the exact same childhood or environmental circumstances or media consumption, whatever that might be. And you'll have a whole host of people who are absolutely unaffected by it, and then people who aren't. So I think it's very hard to define. That's what makes it really difficult as well, you know, to kind of understand and to wrap your head around, you know. But I think it's speaking about it in a way that feels accessible and relatable and hopeful. You don't have to be stuck with it forever. And for me, one of the turning points was a friend of mine who also suffered, saying, we're just going to have this forever. And she kind of... You know, I think for her that felt like a comforting, like there was, you know, support in numbers or something.
Something you live with and just...
But for me, I just felt I really kicked against that notion of having to kind of stay in that very small space.
Me and you are
for a
exact
long
same
time.
age, and I'm 40, and I remember what the 90s were like growing up. Diet culture, face-to-face shaming of women that didn't fit a certain body type.
Yeah,
so it was
size 0 was a big thing.
Yeah, Bridget Jones was plus size.
Yeah,
you know, it was a really
wild.
different climate to what Gen Z are experiencing now.
Yeah.
So I think it's very common, you know, for you to talk about this now. There was no space to talk about it back then. You know,
and very few people who you could relate to. I remember Jerry Halliwell spoke about it, but it was in quite a you know, she was a global pop star.
Yeah, and they were shamed still.
Completely. And then for me, the other reference point was Karen Carpenter. I remember seeing a biopic of her life, and it obviously ended really badly. And I think, you know, the fear of attaching it to pop culture
Yeah.
is that it slightly feels like it's a trend or a choice.
Yeah, well, there was
Exactly
all that heroin chic and everything.
Yeah.
It was trendy to look emaciated.
Exactly that. And
not a
I mean, there's
choice.
no doubt that that will impact some people, and there will be moments and times when there's waves in certain direction. But I think it is, you know, it's a psychological illness. And, you know, anorexia has the highest mortality rate of all mental illnesses.
And suffered by men as well.
Suffered by men and growing in that department as well. So it's not just female, it's certainly not just teenage, although that, you know, age group will suffer more. But, you know, it is possible. And I think the point about seeking help and speaking to someone, because I think it thrives, like much other mental illnesses, it thrives in silence and secrecy and shame. So, speaking to somebody and asking for help and keeping asking, you know, until you get the right person.
Angela, how do you think that impacted your family?
I mean, look, I think there's a helplessness that your parents feel. I feel it now with my own daughters. You know, there's a kind of level of control you wish you had over your kids, and you realise pretty soon that you don't. So it's difficult. I mean, you know, with most addictions, and I think you know, put them in the same category, there's abstinence from those things. There's very clear lines. With an eating disorder, whether it's bulimia or anorexia or overeating, you know, you've got 3 meals a day minimum, and a lot of your family occasions revolve, those kind of joyful, happy moments, all revolve around those. And you talk about maths anxiety, you know, those kind of...
You have maths anxiety.
I
need to know that.
Can we also, just before we go as well, just say how utterly fabulous you were on Strictly Come Dancing.
Oh,
You were just... Every week there was like an excitement level to watch.
It really
You worked really hard.
I did. I had a ball. Honestly, and actually, it was so much fun. I know. I was committed. I mean, an embarrassing level.
Was it nerves like you've never known before?
Like I've never known. But interestingly, I get kind of quite physically nervous. I can feel my legs shaking in different settings. And I'm
even getting a rash about that.
But yeah, I mean, that tango, to do that in silence.
Oh, quite sexy.
Oh, it's so sexy. I watch it on YouTube on down days. I'm like, still got it.
The kid stuff is everywhere. You've had no sleep. No, we all recognise that as well. But honestly, we loved watching you.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Angela Scanlon.